Someone on the Rams is making bold predictions about this upcoming season. We're also talking about the Rams potentially being old. We're going to discuss all that and much more on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron. Remember, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor. Press that subscribe button now, as roughly 73.2% of you guys are watching the videos, but you're still not subscribed to the channel. So do me a favor, press that subscribe button so you don't miss any daily Rams content here at the Rams Digest. First things first, we're talking about a player on the Rams making some pretty bold claims about the Rams, potentially comparing them to the greatest show on turf. Yes, we're talking about greatest show on turf part do or do. I don't know how to say it in French, but part two here in this upcoming NFL season. What are we talking about? Who's discussing this? Why are we getting a little bit crazy here? Well, we're talking about defensive back Quentin Lake making bullish claims, or bullish? I don't know how to say that, how to use that word in a sentence. Quentin Lake bullish on Rams offense is going to be kind of reminiscent of the greatest show on turf. That's quote unquote there. Shout out to Bobby Kaunak coming here with this story. Very intriguing, right, to have a player like Quentin Lake come out, obviously be very excited vocally about what this team has to offer, comparing them to the greatest show on turf back in the Kurt Warner quarterback days, obviously playing with a bunch of incredible talent on those rosters, going to 2 Super Bowls, winning one of them, obviously an incredible time in Rams history. But a little bit kind of early to be saying the Rams can be compared to a team or an era like that. But Quentin Lake was goofing around saying, hey, you know what? I want to see that nickname back this year. We'll bring up his quote here in detail. We got our future Hall of Famer, Matthew Stafford. I expect big things. You got Puka Nacua on one end. You've got Devontae Adams on the other. Tutu Atwell does a fantastic job too. We have all the weapons that we need. And then Kyren Williams in the backfield. It's going to be kind of reminiscent of the greatest show on turf. I hope we kind of bring that name back this year. And of course, everyone, especially haters, I think, of the outside looking in, are going to sit and say, you know what, relax. The Rams aren't that good. This is we're blowing this way too out of proportion. And, you know, they got Devontae Adams. That's it. And, you know, a lot of people are going to criticize this, I'm sure, at some point if this gets to the national media. You know, national media has its favorite teams they like to talk about, and the Rams aren't really always one of them. But if this, for some reason, comes across your feed, ESPN, Sports, or whatever it is that is talking about this, I think we can kind of relax on the situation. If you guys actually watch the interview with Quentin Lake, he's essentially talking about a whole lot of things. He's talking about maybe potentially getting Jalen Ramsey. He's talking about the Rams, what they look like this upcoming season, his contract, obviously going into a contract year for him. Ultimately, he is just simply sitting there happily discussing his team and what the hopes are for this team this upcoming season. And you know, for people inside the building, hey, they want it to be the greatest show on turf part 2. They want this to continue to be a great team. They want to build upon what they had last year. We talked about that game versus the Philadelphia Eagles, right? And how the Rams, from Quentin Lake's perspective, they were 14 yards away from winning that game, potentially hosting the Washington Commanders, how much that would have meant to Los Angeles around that time back in January during the fires. And so he explains all of that in his interview, talks about a lot in the interview, and specifically this specific quote is a little bit crazy, a little bit much if you ask me, but at the same time, he's having fun and excited about this upcoming season. I think you want players in the locker room feeling that way, feeling like this could be a potentially successful, fun, historic, legendary season upcoming, because that's how they want this season to go. They want to be a legendary Super Bowl winning team. Let them feel that way within the building. If they want to bring that nickname back, that's the media's job. We'll have to wait and see on how they play on the field in order to earn that kind of name. I think there's some images right now. If you Google image, the greatest show on turf remix or something like that, there's some Jared Goff images in there, right? So you don't want to have one of those situations happen, although Jared Goff did bring the Rams to a Super Bowl appearance. You don't want to have a situation where you fall short of winning the whole thing. Win the whole thing first. Hopefully then, in that case, if the team looks that great and you can compare them to the back in the greatest show on turf days, then sure, go ahead and do that afterwards. But again, that's the media's job to go out and do that, not Quentin Lake's job. We'll have to wait and see if that's how good this team can be. Let me know how you guys feel about Quentin Lake's comments down below in the comment section. Are you guys happy that he is that excited, or do you want him to tone back the excitement and comparing this team to what the Rams of old used to look like back in the day? Moving on from that, the Rams, speaking of old, speaking of older, historic, whatever you want to call it, Are the Rams too old? Is this roster aging? What are we talking about here? It's kind of honestly, I kind of want to just laugh at this story because, it was posed to us here, SB Nation, talking about the Rams too old. Using an image of Matthew Stafford with a gray beard, all of a sudden the whole team is old, right? JB Scott talking about this story. I don't want to poke too much fun at it. It's not really a bad question to ask, I guess you can say. It's not like, oh, this is out of left field, doesn't make any sense kind of situation. I get it. Matthew Stafford himself is an older player. Davante Adams himself is an older player. Rob Havenstein is an older player on the Rams. Tyler Higbee's getting up there in age. I mean, we can actually pull up a couple of specific names. I forgot that I have this screenshot here that they were talking about. Jimmy Garoppolo, 33, which, I mean, if you're talking about starters, he wouldn't really be in this conversation, right? But Tyler Higbee, 32. Troy Reeder, 30, who we're hoping isn't playing on the field as much as he did last year. Stafford, 37. Darius Williams, starting quarterback, 32. And Ahkello Witherspoon, starting cornerback, 30. With an honorable mention, your new starting center, Coleman Shelton, is 29 years of age. It's just kind of funny, you know what I mean? When we were talking about this specific grouping, how old these specific group of players are. Yeah, sure. Darius Williams is over 30 years old, and so is Ahkello Witherspoon. And yeah, Matthew Stafford's on the wrong side of 30. Davante Adams is getting up there in age as well. Rob Havenstein, we know, is closer to retirement than ever at this point. Same thing with Tyler Higbee, maybe no longer a Ram after this season. And so ultimately, you put all those things together. I get it. You can say the Rams have a few old players. Going back to last season, though, before they were able to obviously get Davante Adams, so you got to factor that in now. I haven't been able to pull up an accurate what the average age is this year, but going back to the playoffs, the top 14 teams in the playoffs last year, the top 10. The Rams were number 3 on that list. Actually, dating back to last August, they were the second youngest team in the NFL. So I do not believe Matthew Stafford being 1 year older and bringing in Davante Adams, who's 32 and who's only a couple years older than, if not the same age as Cooper Kupp. Right? How old is Cooper Kupp? I got to go look that up now because you're gonna make fun of me for not knowing that off the top of my head. But he's not that much older than Cooper Kupp. Maybe even be the same age, right? And so we're talking about a couple of different players here and there. He's 31. Cooper Kupp's 31, and Davante Adams is sitting there at 32. So I doubt that has increased the average age of the team that much more. I think ultimately this team, sure, has a couple of older veteran players. That's not a bad thing. I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams currently are still in about the top 10 to 15 range of average age on their roster going into next season. They have a very, very young, athletic, young defense. Of course, the cornerbacks, yes, a couple of them are over 30. I hope you can get a Jalen Ramsey, who's also 30 years old. And so, yeah, the Rams are an older roster, generally speaking, but they're not old by any stretch of the imagination. Kind of a ridiculous story I wanted to kind of acknowledge. No, the Rams are not too old. A little older quarterback, a little older receiver 1 or receiver 2, however you see it, with Davante Adams and Puka Nacua. But that's pretty much it. The Rams can survive. They're not that old, I think, in my opinion. Moving on to the last but not least part of the day, trivia of the day. My favorite part of the episode where I ask a trivia question and you give your trivia guesses down below. Lately, we've been specifically doing Rams trivia questions, and so we're going to stick to that kind of theme as the last episode was this question posed here. What LA Rams quarterback was known as the Dutchman? I did talk about this question last episode. I had a couple people play along at home in the comments, which I always appreciate that. We'll pull up the multiple choice options here. It was A, Ken Stabler, B, Bob Waterfield, C, Fran Tarkenton, or D, Norm Van Brocklin. The correct answer for that trivia of the day was guessed by a couple people here. We'll pull them up right now in a second. Here were the guesses for last episode. We had Brian B saying Norm Van Brocklin, and we had Floyd saying Norm Van Brocklin as well. Appreciate both of you guys for guessing along, as both of these individuals have been playing along with a lot of trivia of the days as of late. So I really appreciate you guys continuing supporting the channel here at the Rams Digest, continuing to play the trivia of the day when I post them. I really appreciate you guys playing along. The correct answer was D, Norm Van Brocklin. Appreciate both of you guys for playing along, Brian B. and Floyd. If you want to play along, get a shout out just like this on the next episode of the Rams Digest that I'm on, go ahead and guess with today's trivia of the day, which is this question posed here. Cooper Kupp set a set a record, NFL record, for most receptions in a single postseason. How many receptions did he have? That is a question here. Cooper Kupp, again, set a record for most receptions in a single postseason. but how many receptions did he have in that one postseason run for the Rams as he went on to win Super Bowl MVP that year in 2021? Is it A, 66 receptions? Is it B, 77 receptions? Is it C, 33 receptions? Or is it D, 55 receptions? Give your guesses down below in the comments section, and whether you're right or whether you're wrong, we'll give a shout out on the next episode. Other than that, that's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron, and I am out.